Hi, ladies and gents, and welcome back to the 2 for 1 podcast,
where you get two of us for the price of one.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Becky.
And today we're going to be talking all things relationships, as promised, the good, the bad, and the ugly for our Valentine's Day special.
So we're both currently single at the moment.
But we have got a few stories that we would like to share with you. So Becky, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah. So when I was 17, I just joined a mixed sixth form. Didn't really like my pick of the boys that were there. Can I say that?
Yeah.
So I found myself on Tinder, and I'd never been on Tinder before, and I didn't know what the preferences or anything like that was. So my distance, I think my age might have been a bit high as well, but I just didn't swipe for those people. Oh no, actually I was under 18, so the highest you're allowed to be is 18, I think. But yeah, I didn't change my distance settings, so I ended up being matched with I ended up matching with this boy called Josh, who was my age, and we got on really, really well. I didn't fully realise where he lived. I don't think he realised where I lived when we first started talking, whatever. And then it turned out we lived like 2 hours away from each other. So then we both travelled to Manchester, which was about halfway, and met up. I did take a friend with me. I was safe. Someone was with me. Someone knew where I was and what I was doing. But yeah, and we had a great day, not gonna lie. And then we ended up being together for nearly 2 years, on and off, because the first year of uni ended up being in there somewhere.
So you just mentioned that you were with Josh for several years, and that was in between like uni. So what happened there? Was that you sort of like grew up and like you just drifted apart?
So when we first both went to uni, obviously freshers, nothing, like nobody cheated or anything, but we basically split up just before freshers had happened, and then got back together a couple of weeks afterwards. And then throughout the rest of first year, obviously we were in different places. Obviously we were used to that, but the distance and time to get to each other was about the same. But obviously uni life is a bit different to life living with your parents and stuff. So we didn't necessarily see each other loads. It was probably like every 2 weeks, maybe every 3 weeks. And then as the year went on, we just sort of like grew apart. And then like during the summer holidays, we basically just called it a day. He'd probably tell it differently to that.
I was just about to say that's a very nice, like a nice breakup story. It doesn't sound like there was particularly any like ill feelings between anybody, which is like quite nice.
No. Well, he made the decision in the end, but by that time I was also ready for the relationship to end.
Yeah.
So we just sort of went our separate ways. And then a few weeks after that, I went on Tinder again, and I found someone called Mikey who was like around the area. But then I went back to uni, so again the relationship turned into a long distance thing. We actually did split up about 3 months in, then got back together a couple of weeks later, maybe a month later, and then we were together for just under 2 years. So then we split up. He got a new girlfriend. I then was actually single for a few months, and then I went on Plenty of Fish, which isn't the best dating app, not gonna lie. And then there was 2 boys that I was sort of interested in. One was called Ben and one was called Alex. So I was talking to them around the same time, and I did actually meet up with both of them the day after each other. They don't know this. And then for a good week or two, I was deciding which one I liked more, because I liked them both. I got on with both of them. But because Ben lived like near Birmingham, I thought to myself, I didn't want another long distance relationship, and that just probably wasn't going to work out from previous experience. So I decided to go into this relationship with Alex, which lasted, how long did it last? Probably about 6 or 7 months, which wasn't, it's not very long, but a lot of drama happened within that. So then me and Alex split up actually just before my birthday, so probably around now, to be honest. And then by this point, Mikey had already split up with his new girlfriend. And then as soon as he knew that I'd split up with Alex, he messaged me and it was like, oh, do you want to meet up? So I did. Me and Mikey then got back together, surprisingly enough, like I think the day before my birthday. And then we were together for probably another 2 months. Surprise, surprise, it didn't work out again. And I've been single ever since. But about 6 months after me and Mikey split up, he got in touch and was like, I don't want there to be bad blood. Like, we get on. Why don't we try and be friends? And we've been friends since. So it's been about 2 years since we split up, about 1.5 years of us being friends. And that seems to be the way that we need to be.
I think sometimes it's really nice if you can obviously like remain friends, because I think it's so sad when you spend such like a long period of your life with somebody and then go from being like you're everything to you nothing. I think that's really sad. So I think it's really nice that you can remain friends.
Yeah, and not everyone understands it, but it works for us. Yeah, so
that's all.
Yeah. So what about you? Talk us through your dating history.
I mean, I feel like yours is a bit more like interesting than mine. I think mine's a bit more like bland.
I think yours is more interesting, Sarah.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm a bit of a strange one. So, I would say I've had 2 serious relationships. I'm not really like, when I say I'm not a relationship person, I just don't really attract that type of person normally. I don't really attract someone who wants to settle down with me. I normally attract people who want to live crazy, chaotic lives and just want to take me along for the ride.
You're attracted to a bad boy.
I mean, apparently so. But I think that changes with age as well, doesn't it? I think as you get older, you realise that the things that were important to you when you were 17, 18 really aren't important at the age of 24, 25. So I would say that my first relationship was around like the same time as yours, like 17, 18. And I met somebody. I'm going to give my men
Your men.
So because they're both a bit like flower pot men, we'll call them Bill and Ben. So we'll say Bill was boyfriend number 1. And I met him when I was around, like I said, 17 or 18. And he was a bit of a bad boy. I met him through a friend. And he was quite wealthy. Not that matters, but he was quite wealthy. And at that age, I think a lot of girls, maybe in one of them, was quite influenced by that. It was like quite nice to go out with somebody who just took care of everything and sort of like treated you like a lady. But then I think sometimes men who do want to pay for everything can also be controlling in like other ways and want to sort of, if they're paying for everything, want to have a certain level of control over you as sort of like payback for buying you a nice meal. So I think that's why I was attracted to him. He was a bit of a bad boy. He was always going out partying, was living a bit of a wild life. And at the time I was just like, oh no, that's normal, you know, he's coming home to me. But I think as you get older, in hindsight now, I realise that it probably wasn't a very normal, healthy relationship at all. But I think both me and you are firm believers in that everything happens for a reason.
Definitely.
So I was in a relationship with him for on and off a couple of years. And I would always break up with him thinking he'll come running back. Like, I will break up with him and he will come running back. So I sort of broke up with him for the wrong reasons, if that makes sense. And he never would come running back. I was always the one who would text and call him and be like, oh no, like we can make it work. And we never could. It was never a relationship that was gonna last. So that relationship ended after a couple of years. And you know when you break up with somebody, but you're sort of like still in the relationship. So like, you know how you were saying before, like you were kind of the opposite, where you broke up with Josh, but you both like weren't really in it. Like you were kind of like living your own lives. Well, I was kind of the opposite. I feel like your first breakup can go like one of two ways. Yours kind of went like the healthy way, and I was kind of like still wanted to be in that because it was all I'd known for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So after we broke up, I was like, had like really low self-esteem, wasn't confident because I'd really just relied on this person who didn't really care about me for far too long. And then a few years later, I met somebody else. We'll call him Ben. And the relationship with him wasn't particularly long. It was about 6 months, but he was someone who came into my life at the right time and like let me like love myself again, and like he kind of like restored the damage that Bill had done. So I will always be like grateful for him. But again, that relationship was never going to last. Like we didn't really have much in common, but he was a lovely person. So I'll always be grateful for him for that.
Oh.
So in terms of breakups, I think the first one was definitely the worst because it was a lot of emotions. I think sometimes especially when you're like a young girl, you're convinced that this person is going to be like with you forever. It's hard to get over that.
Yeah.
But then I think when someone who's really nice comes into your life and shows you that actually you benefited them more than they ever did to you and gives you a different perspective, then it really makes you like reevaluate things and makes you have a bit more self-worth for yourself. So that's my relationship history, a brief summary.
So it's that time again where we ask each other some questions, because I'm sure there's some stuff about our past relationships that we don't know about each other.
So shall I go first then?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, so my first question for Becky is, what was your worst first date?
Ooh. I don't necessarily have a bad first date experience, but I have a very awkward one. So I was talking to this guy who came across on text like really funny. But then when we actually met up in person, it was like a weird funny. In not like I like weird, but it was like too weird, and it didn't float my boat. And I felt really awkward. And obviously, because it was a first date, he wanted to pay for things, but I knew that I didn't want him to pay for things, and I was like, I feel bad. But yeah, that wasn't so not necessarily bad, but not great. So what about you? Have you got any bad dating experiences?
I mean, the only like bad one that I can think about where I was literally like, get me out of here now, was I met this lad in a nightclub and he seemed really, really nice. And so we took each other's numbers and then we went on a date. I think this was on like the Saturday, and then we went on a date on like the Tuesday. And we just went to a restaurant and he was a pilot. So I thought, oh, he's gonna have loads of like, we'll be able to speak about travel and, you know, it won't be awkward and it'll be really good. Anyway, we went on the date and he said at the start of the date that throughout the date he would tell me about, oh my God, about airline regulations. And at the end of the date, there would be a quiz. No. Right. And then not only that, but when he wasn't speaking about airline regulations and which way was the best way to safely exit an aircraft, he was talking constantly about his ex-girlfriend who was a model. And I was just like,
wow.
Why are you
feel
here?
good about yourself?
I was like, why are you here then? Like, what's going on? So I think, first of all, if you're listening, don't quiz girls about airline regulations on a first date, and don't constantly talk about your ex-girlfriend, because, yeah, if you want to be with her, you should just be with her and not with me.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
That was quite bad. That was the only experience where I was literally like, I was tempted just to get up and leave, like with him sat right there. Like I was just tempted to walk out of the restaurant and never go back.
Wow. So on the topic of first dates, what's the most expensive first date you've been on?
Oh, do you know what? I think probably the most expensive first date I've ever been on is probably to like a really nice restaurant. I've never really done anything extravagant and over the top, but I've always been to like a nice restaurant. Well, not always, but I have been to a nice restaurant. And when the bills come and I've wanted to go halves because it's been really expensive. So I always feel like really bad in those situations. I never want, especially on the first date, I never want someone like spending like a lot of money on me. So I do always offer to go halves. But I'm just as happy going to the carvery, if I'm being honest. I think that's just as nice in some situations. It's sometimes about the company that you're with, not where you go or what you do.
Exactly.
But I think definitely that's probably one of the most expensive dates, was going to like a really expensive restaurant. And yeah, you know, I'd probably, some girls would say, well, I got dressed up and I got a new dress and I got my makeup and my hair done, so they should pay. But I just think, well, you could have bought a new outfit too. That's cost a lot of money. Yeah. You know, and you've agreed to go. So I would always offer to pay halves. Especially if I saw the bill and it was like in the hundreds, I'd be like, yeah, no, please take the money. What about you? What's the most expensive first date you've ever been on?
Well, mine's probably the same as yours, just like a nice restaurant or something like that. The only story, I suppose, behind that is, obviously, I mentioned Ben before, who was from Birmingham. So when he came up here to like meet up, he actually stayed in a hotel, like not expecting anything, but because it was easier for him than driving home. So he technically paid for a hotel to come and see me. So I suppose that sort of counts towards like the date price. And I didn't stay there, but I went home, and then the following day I had the day off work, so I went back to the hotel to eat breakfast with him. So we had like a sort of cute 2-date thing, but the breakfast was free with his stay. But I suppose that counts towards
it really does
first date price.
And I think that's lovely, because sometimes people can spend a lot of money and not make any effort. Money doesn't equal effort. But the fact that he came up and stayed over and probably took time off of work, that's really nice.
Yeah, which makes me feel worse for not picking him. But
Ben, come back.
If you're watching, Ben, hi.
Okay, so my next question is, what is the most romantic thing that somebody has ever done for you?
I can't think of a specific example. These haven't been the best relationships, really, have they?
Well, I can't really either.
I suppose. Oh no, I do have one.
Go on.
So the last stint of me and Mikey being together, when we got back together just before my birthday, he actually sent flowers to my work office on my birthday, and I was a bit mortified, to be honest, but that was nice.
No, that's really romantic.
Yeah. So what's yours? Do you not have one?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I think from my relationship breakdown earlier, I think we might have like established that I didn't really pick the most romantic people. And hopefully that'll change soon.
Yes, we hope to change that in the future.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. I mean, to be fair, probably one of the most romantic things that someone's ever done for me is, you know, when you go, I do love this, I'm a bit cringy like this, but you know, if you go to like Alton Towers or like Southport and you can win like a big teddy, that's happened with a past relationship, but that was literally me being like, please do it, please do it.
Yeah. So if they'd gone up and been like, I want to win you this big teddy, then that would have been hands down.
It was me like, you will knock those cans down until you win me a teddy. I don't know. I don't care how much money you spend.
Oh.
So that's probably mine.
So my next question would be, what is the worst birthday or Christmas present you've ever received?
See, I've got quite a bad one, and I'm racking my brain. I don't know whether I've told you this or not before.
I feel like you probably haven't.
Because I feel like you would know if I would have told you this before.
Okay, we'll see.
Okay, so with my first relationship, it was a Christmas present, and I only got one Christmas present, so this was the only thing. That sounds really ungrateful, but wait till you hear what it was. So it was like in a jewelry box. So I was really excited. I was like, oh, this is going to be lovely. Like, and it was around the time, do you remember? I mean, I know some people still do, but it was around the time it was really popular, like to have a fashion necklace of like your name on it.
Yeah.
And so it was like one of them, and it was like from a good make. But when I unwrapped it and unwrapped the box, it had Emily on the necklace. So he clearly bought several of these items and incorrectly distributed them. So I got the wrong one.
You've definitely never told me that before. That's bad.
Yeah.
What was his excuse?
So I said, I don't even remember, to be honest. I don't think he had one. But I said, did you mean to get me a necklace?
Oh, was he not there when you opened it?
No. So I just kind of like put it in, like, did you mean to get me a necklace for Christmas, or was this for someone else? And he was like, no, that was for you. Because I thought maybe it's like, I don't know, a family member or just a friend, you know, maybe it's just like just somebody random, and I was supposed to get a different present and he's just given me the thing. I think it made it worse that he got us the same presents.
Yeah.
And just accidentally switched the boxes. He probably didn't even accidentally switch them. He probably thought, oh, this will be funny.
Wow. How long did you stay with him after that?
Quite a while.
Did you mention that it had the wrong name on? Or does he not know that?
Oh. No, yeah, he knew I had the wrong name on when I told him. Yeah, I said, well, who's Emily then? Even I don't know what you mean.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I can think is that they manufactured it wrong. But you'd surely check something like that.
Yeah, no, I think he'd like gone into a shop and bought it.
Oh dear.
I don't think it was like made specifically.
Right.
Yeah. So that got you know, this is what I mean. I would always like break up with him and think that he would like come running back, but he was probably with Emily or whoever it was.
Damn you, Emily.
You're listening.
You're watching, Emily. Hi.
Anyway,
I love how you've not said his name, but you've said her name.
Well, I think it was Emily. I can't really remember, to be honest.
Maybe it wasn't.
Maybe it wasn't. But I know I didn't. I never knew who she was. So.
Right.
Go on. What about you?
I don't think I have any bad presents. Mainly because, like you said with the teddy bear, I usually have a specific thing that I want, or they'll ask my mum, and my mum knows what I'd want. So I've never had a bad present. Touch wood.
What's it like to be with someone who's like actually thoughtful?
I mean, it's quite nice at the time. It's probably more sour when you break up, though, because at least you actually liked each other.
Yeah.
That sounds mean. I didn't mean it like that, but
no. I completely agree.
Probably like how you felt when you broke up with the second guy.
Yeah, definitely.
So did he get you any nice presents?
We weren't really like together for like long enough. So I think did I call him Ben? Ben. So I don't.
Oh, I had a Ben too. Oh, yeah. I didn't even realise.
The same one.
No, definitely not the same one.
So yeah, we weren't really together long. Like he used to do like really like. To be fair, he was quite thoughtful. Like he always used to like if I was like down, he'd like get me like chocolates, or do you know what? He was just like a really lovely person. But I think even though we were like together in a relationship, I think that was for me more of like a friendship. Like he was just such a lovely person.
Yeah,
it was just more of a friendship for me, and I think that's why it didn't last very long. And to be fair, I think it was more of a friendship for him as well. I think we both just kind of came into each other's lives when we both needed one another. And it was just one of them, you know, sort of like law of attraction, everything happens for a reason. And I think as much as, he did like give me confidence, I think I did the same for him. I think we were both in quite bad places when we met each other. And I'm just glad I met someone like him and not someone who was even worse than Bill and sent me over the edge.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
At least you know there's nice guys out there.
Exactly.
You just need to find the right one.
Exactly.
So as you've heard from our relationship stories, being in a relationship is not always the best thing. Being single, as we are now, can actually be great, even if it is in lockdown. I mean, I'm happier now than I ever have been. Have you?
Yeah, so I would say, you know, I think if you love yourself, then you attract that and you radiate that into other people. So I think if you're in like quite a bad place or quite down, then maybe that isn't the best time to get into a relationship. But I think if you're a happy person and you like the person that you are, then you'll attract good people. So I think that's really important to bear in mind before you get into a relationship. And it's okay to take your time. You don't need to rush into anything.
Yeah,
especially definitely. At the minute, no one is going anywhere. If you don't want to rush into something, there's really no need to.
No, and we're all on our own paths. So even if your friends or people you know might be like in a relationship or getting engaged, like some of our friends are, like it doesn't mean that your life path isn't worthy, because it still is. You're just on a different path than those other people. Definitely.
And you know, everybody goes at different paces in lives. You all get to where you need to be. You don't need to change or rush into something that isn't right for you just because you feel the pressure from other people around you. Because I feel like that's something that I felt previously. I thought, oh, all my friends are in relationships, there must be something wrong with me. And I've just jumped into something that hasn't been right. And then you might be missing out on something that is right for you because you're already taking and giving your time to someone that isn't right for you. So I think that's really important to remember too.
Yeah. And I've definitely thought in the past that I was ready for something more than it was at that point. But now in hindsight, I'm not even ready now for like the marriage or the kids side of a relationship. Whereas while I was in long-term relationships, I thought, oh, well, that's the next step of this relationship, to like sort of make it worthy. But that isn't how relationships should work.
Yeah.
So my pressure of what I felt from society of like settling down and stuff would have pushed me towards something that wasn't right for me at the time.
Yeah. Definitely. I think especially when, you know, like people our age, like you've already mentioned, there's people around us who are engaged, have, you know, had babies, bought houses together. I think it's really important to remember that even though that's great that they've done that at such a young age, it is still a young age, and there's still plenty of time to make all those big decisions. And you know, people go on, especially like you said about society, about women like need to have babies as early as possible. Well, you know, we've got plenty of time to worry about that.
Yeah. The other thing I've noticed, a lot of influencers, they don't like that word, on Instagram, especially during lockdown, have like fallen pregnant or had their babies or something like that. And a lot of the people I follow are quite young, and they're my sort of age. And they're like getting pregnant, but they try and portray this message of this is just our story. Like if you're the same age and not necessarily in the same position, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think they're just, because most of them have been in relationships as well for a good like 6 or 7 years, so they were just ready. Whereas if you're not ready, doesn't mean you have to do something.
Definitely not. Right, so something that I've noticed from previous dating and relationships is that I seem to attract the similar types of people. Maybe not always for the best. But I don't know if you've noticed this, but I've also attracted similar men with the same astrological sign. So almost I'll be like speaking to someone, not even like dating, speaking to someone casually, like in a nightclub. And I've done this before, and I've been like, can I just ask what star sign are you? And I guarantee you 99.9% of the time, if I'm drawn to someone, it's because they're a Taurus, which is just crazy.
That is crazy.
Has anything strange like that happened to you?
No. My previous like relationships and stuff have never been a specific star sign, but they have always been born like, well, they range from like the end of September to the end of December. So I think that's only like 2 star signs, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that sort of section of the star sign calendar thing.
So that's really interesting.
Yeah. What dates is a Taurus?
I think it's the 22nd of March to the 22nd of May. Something around those dates, because it's the one before me.
Right. It's the one after me.
There you go.
Strange. So we're going to go into star signs a little bit more in next week's episode. So make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified whenever we upload a brand new video. Click the like button and comment down below any of your dating stories and any topics that you might want us to cover in the future. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.